Bingies, welcome to the BingeWorthy podcast, part of the Gigs Network. My name is Johnny Randolph, and I'm here with the BingeWorthy crew. My first co-host tonight is, you know him as the Nuke from the Ville. Yo, Ricard, say what's up to the people, man?
Hello, Governor.
And you know this guy, yo, Chuck, man, let the people know who you are.
What it do, people? What it do?
What they do. All right. Yo, and he's one of the founding members of the BingeWorthy podcast. He's not a permanent member, but he's always family and always welcome back. Centel, say what's up to the people, man.
Oh, Miss Silly home now. What's up, fellas?
Falling in. You see her as a regular out here. She's falling in with the BingeWorthy crew. Dayla, man, let the people know who you are, man.
What's up?
And we are the BingeWorthy podcast. Tonight, we will be reviewing Blue Eye Samurai. Blue Eye Samurai is an American adult animated action streaming television series. I'm reading that. Created by husband and wife Michael Green and Amber Nuzumi. And what we're going to do first, at the beginning of our show, we like to rate it using our BingeWorthy scale. Now, taking into the fact that none of us know how our co-hosts have rated it. So I'm going to ask my technical director, Rodney, can you please put on the screen how everybody rated Blue Eye Samurai? All right. So, all right, what we got here? We got a full meal. We got another full meal. We got a binge out. We got another full meal, and we got a binge out. All right. So that's 22 out of 5. What's that? Ricard always do the math before I can.
Listen, you caught me on the wrong day.
He just does it all the time. I be hitting on my little buttons. He'd be like, "That's 4.75329." That gives us a 4.44. So we're going to round it down, and we're going to be at a full meal. So for Blue Eye Samurai, we're going to be at a full meal. All right. What we do is we engage in conversation, and then at the end of the show, we will re-rate it. And just maybe our co-host can influence us to change that rating. For the first part, we're going to talk about the characters. So I'm gonna start with you, Chuck. Our protagonist is Mizu. She is a mixed race warrior in the 17th century Japan at a time when the country had made a decision to remain mostly isolated from the West. How do you feel about this character? Do you think she is strong enough to carry an entire series?
Absolutely. I think Mizu is an interesting character. Her name, if Mizu stands for water's blue, which is interesting in Japanese. Now, that may not be her characters in Japanese. Mi is also the first kanji, and Mi is usually beautiful for a name. The zoo is probably something else. I don't know what the zoo could be. And the zoo could be a number of other characters. But yes, the fact I think she could carry the show. You know, she did carry the show, actually.
Okay.
My opinion.
All right. So let's talk about Mizu. Centel, how did you feel about our protagonist for this series?
I like Mizu, but I got to disagree with Chuck regarding her carrying the film. I think that the side characters actually carried the film more than Mizu did. Mizu was fun to watch. She brought a lot to the screen. And every time she had an action sequence, it's let's go time. I appreciate that. But as far as like character arcs are concerned, like when you're seeing the full change of a character from the time the series starts to the time that the series ends, I don't think her arc was nowhere near is drastic as some of the other characters, especially when you think of a character like a Kimmy, who had a completely different, she was a totally different person from the time that we started to the time that it ended. I didn't feel that way with Mizu, but that doesn't mean that she wasn't a good character. It's just she was more one note than some of the other characters that accompanied her in this series.
Okay. All right. So, Mizu, on her journey, she encounters a motley cast of characters that aid her in her journey. So let's talk about some of these other characters that Chuck and Centel have described. Dayla, what did you feel about her at the first ostensible rival, Tigan? How did this character contribute to your overall rating?
I think Tigan is a really interesting character when we look at him as the initial kind of full counter to Mizu's journey as hero, and that they're kind of set up to be nemesis who are fighting each other along this journey and this road that Mizu's on. And I love how Tigan, by the end of this season, is potentially a romantic interest, is like the homie best buddy, is like confused because he doesn't really know how he feels about this person. And that really he comes to respect. And like Mizu fucking carries him down gets him out of level 9 in the castle and is able to actually help him survive. And that also reminds me that Tigan also is a stand-up guy for Mizu and doesn't disclose any information when being tortured, losing fingernails, all the alls, and surviving in this dungeon of not only Heiji, but also Fowler. And so I think Tigan definitely adds. I think there's something interesting later to think about in terms of series arcs for women warriors and the problems of making them be the active arc character in a show, like Ahsoka versus Mizu. But Tigan had a journey, came around, and I think lands in a really interesting place at the end of the season. Like, are he and Akemi gonna get together? I don't know. So yeah, I'm all about relationships when I watch characters. So,
okay.
And not just romantical relationship, but like human connection relationship.
Human connection.
Just human connection, yeah. So let's talk about Tigan's love interest, Princess Akemi. Akemi, Rikai, how did Akemi contribute to your overall rating?
I have to agree with Centel on this. Akemi was probably one of the most interesting characters throughout this. Because when she started, she was a spoiled, rich girl. She was a spoiled princess, but even within her own household, she had zero power. Her father, her family did not see her, and her only job was to marry for prominence. It reminded me of Hamilton, actually. Like, she had to marry, to further the family's position. And that's why her father was arranging a marriage. And then she had tried to manipulate that situation into marrying Tigan, which worked until he took a L and was embarrassed, and then he goes on his arc trying to regain his honor. And then she goes on a whole complete different journey. I really think that what is his name? Seki, her guy that's with her, like, he was super interesting as well. But Akemi, like, her whole thing where she even, went to the brothel and then, and then end up still going back to the shogun and marrying the son. Like, her arc over these episodes was super interesting. And the woman that she became by the end of the show, and then her confrontation, her deal with Tigan, when they finally reconnected and found each other again, listen, if there's a season 2, she is going to be a woman to be reckoned with. where some of the other people I just didn't get the same. Like I loved Mizu, but Mizu was she started to grow and then she regressed by the end, and that kind of pissed me off.
So for Kimmy, I thought she was the most interesting character on the show because there were times I liked her, and then there were times she was getting on my nerves. Yeah. It was like, I'm going to do whatever I want. And then she would do something that was so cool. Like when she gave the money, when she bought the prostitutes freedom, the freedom, I was like, oh, that's dope right there. Then she would turn around and do something like, so I definitely thought she was the most interesting character within the show. So Santel, I'm gonna turn to you. You are an actor, and we know that voice acting is an art. Not everybody who is a solid actor can do animated voice acting. What did you think about the cast, the quality of the voice acting for the cast for this property?
I'll say this: nobody phoned it in. You see an American property sometimes, and you think, it's like, but how's the voice acting going to be? It's always that kind of thing that kind of like eats at the back of your head. But they had some legendary talent going in. I mean, George Takei off the top of my head, yeah, and there's no slip up with his character. You fall in love with his voice, you fall in love with his character, you fall in love with the journey. I was a huge fan of a little series called Heroes way back in the day, and Ringu, who is to me is one of the most endearing characters. He's kind of like our watermark of sanity, and the amount of just joy and curiosity that Masaoka, I think that's the character, the actor's name, who plays him, just breathed so much life into this character. Like it was so many levels. It was rich. The guy oh my gosh, the big bad guy. Oh my gosh.
Fowler.
Yeah, Fowler. Oh my gosh, the gruffness of his voice. He sounded serious. He's one of those.
It was Kenneth Branagh.
See, there you go. Yeah, I mean, it was phenomenal. It was really good work. It sounded like the voice actors put their heart into it and really like researched and did some deep diving. It didn't seem like they just rolled out of bed, grabbed the microphone, and then spit their lines into it, which is sometimes, unfortunately, you get that with a lot of American animation. It was well done.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you the one that surprised me a little was Randall Park as Haiji Shindo. He was the father on Fresh Off the Boat, and he's Agent Wu in in WandaVision, and now he's in Marvel properties and the Ant-Man movies. Him playing that sort of bad guy, because he's always been kind of a comedic actor. Him playing a snake in the grass, but a very cunning character, and voicing it well was very surprising to me. Not that it's outside of his realm of capabilities, but in the other roles that we've seen him, he always comes off like he was excellent as a kind of the bit man in what was that? The Young Rock, The Rock's TV show. Yeah. He was excellent as that, trying to be The Rock's best friend. Like that was hilarious.
Can I jump in here after this?
Yeah, go ahead, Della. I'm sorry,
I just want to say yes. Doing all the things, and like all the supporting actors, like Getty Watanabe, we get the voice. Mark Dacascos shows up in here. Ming Na Wen is here. Keone Young, like Clyde Kasatsu, like it's a Maya Erskine who voices Mizu. Like it's a who's who of Asian American, and Brenda Song as a Kemi. Like it's
Harry
just
Shum
a really Harry Shum Jr. Like it's just so. But yeah, I had to just jump in on the party train because like I was so excited watching and listening to this show and hearing voices that we knew,
Who's the voice of Sword Father? Because that one was really good too.
Sword Father.
That is
that's Kerry Hiroyuki Tagawa.
Yeah, I like that. You could hear the strength in his voice and the confidence, but also the firmness of it. Like I didn't even have to see what the character looked like. You could just hear the voice and you got everything you need to know.
So I think we firmly established. Oh, go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, for Kimmy as a character, I'm so used to seeing the damsel turn villain. Like we reviewed like a number of shows where the damsel turns villain. I was like, here we go again. Damsel turns villain. And that's how I felt. I thought she was Mylene. I thought she was a number of characters. The character from which is Shadow and Bone that turns like, no, I'm turning evil right now. I'm gonna run, make a run for this.
See, I never took it as turning evil. I mean, and I get your point. I get your point, but I think she's been so devoid of power of even being seen for so long. She learned one of the greatest lessons she learned, not only from Seki, but in the brothel from Mistress Kaji. Like, she told her, she's like, listen, she's like, she said, as women, we waste our power running to men, or you know what I'm saying, or waiting for men or whatever. You got to take your own. And you know what I'm saying? And I mean, because she was already conniving and manipulating when she worked her way into getting her father to agree for her to marry Taigen. So now she's like, okay. Like, even the way she dealt with the second son of the Shogun, she's like, listen.
Yeah. The one who I did, you just brought her up. It was, and I don't want to call her a madam. I don't know what the official term is. That character, the one who was running the she was dope to me. She was super dope. How she broke down the role of the courtesans and finding their kinks and their peculiarities. And then when they were the palace was on fire and they were like, come on, wait for everybody to come in. She was like, nah, close that door. If they saw the Shogun, killed. They should have took their lives right then. This is what you have to do to lead. I was like, I need a spinoff of her.
Yeah, she was clean.
Ooh, so Chuck, we'll go over to you. Were there any sort of characters that you would have liked to have seen more of, or maybe seen less of?
That's a good question. I would probably say I definitely wanted to see more of the sword master, the sword father. I definitely wanted more of him. Because he survived and nobody killed him. He's making these masterful swords and nobody's trying to kill him. Like, why hasn't anybody tried to kill him? Like, I would love to see if somebody has tempted. Like, he made a sword for somebody and they're like, this is the last sword you're going to make for anybody. I'm going to kill you right now. And the fact that he's blind, that's something that was common in that era in Japan. A lot of sword masters did die at the hands of the swords they made. So I wonder why nobody killed
Is that
him.
that's the thing?
Yes. Yes. I don't want that person to look. You made me a masterful sword. I can't have you make another one. It's like the guy that designed the Taj Mahal. They cut off his hands. I think the prince cut off his hands and blinded him. So he can never do another one.
Oh, because he didn't want he want him to make that building again.
This is the most beautiful building in the world. I want you to make sure you can never make it again.
Damn. Hardcore. And I'm gonna follow up here with you. So let's move on and talk about some of the plot lines and the stories. Blue Eye Samurai, it's a story about revenge and politics, racism, coming of age. These are just a few of the topics. So let's talk about some of these things. I'm gonna come back to you again, Chuck, because this series it is violent and it is graphic. So I want to get your expert opinions on how you think the animation style and the art style contribute to this series.
I thought the animation art style was pretty. The thick lines of it and everything. I thought it was really pretty. It made me think of anime because I'm watching a lot of anime right now, and I'm having to watch Demon Slayer at the same time. So to me, this is not that bloody.
Oh, really?
This is nothing.
Not compared to Demon Slayer.
Okay.
Nothing. And so I was watching, I was like, this is kind of tame. So I binge watched it all in a day. And I watched like 5 episodes of Demon Slayer right before I turned it on. So I gotta watch the show for BingeWorthy. So I turned it on and I was like, oh, this is good. But I'm used to seeing a lot more gore. I thought the art style was nice. The animation speed was really good. It was really clean. I know they did it on a budget and it came out really good. It's not Mappa or Trigger, but it's good. It's good enough. I accept it as American animation because American animation is
French.
But the style itself. A lot of American animation, when you see it on television, is Cal art style. and it's like draw as fast as you possibly can, and just
Mhm.
relay the idea and the emotion of the moment, and that's it. That's why we have Teen Titans Go and the
Oh,
Thundercats that never came out. That's Kyle Out
Mm.
style. Like
okay.
everything looks like Rugrats and whatnot. That's this particular art style they choose to go with because it's
Okay.
quicker.
All right. So again, I'm picking up on this theme of the violence because you would expect that with a title that has samurai in it. Centel, I've always heard you say that our action sequences tell a story. They should tell a story. So what story do you think they were telling in this series, if anything? And were these action sequences, were they disappointing to you? Were you impressed by them, or were you just kind of like blah?
When Mizu walks into the very first temple with all the students are there. It was episode 1, and she walks in and it's like 20 students there, and she's like, "Let me see your master." And I was fortunate enough to get a chance to watch this Rakai, and I was telling Rakai at that time, I'm like, the first action sequence is what's gonna set the tone. Like we'll get a good idea of what we're dealing with. And it over delivered. Completely over delivered. It was beautiful. I could see what was happening, which is a really, sometimes your animation just moves. I love Mappa. I really do. But sometimes stuff moves so fast. I'm like, what did I miss something? I know something was cool, but did I see it correctly? There was none of that with this. It's like Mizu is her. She's that bitch. She's her. She's her. Ladies and gentlemen, I have arrived. And they did things with originality. That moment, dog, when she busts that dude in his mouth and his chiclets was stuck to the sword and she spun that shit and it went in slow motion and the teeth flew off. I was like,
Yeah.
we here. I looked at Rakai and I'm like, we're in good hands.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And on top of it, the cool little subtle hat tips. There's whoever it is that did some of the action sequences, was a lover of Kill Bill. And it's a phenomenal movie because there's a lot of Kill Bill hat tips. There's cool things that they do with coloring. There's cool things that they do with some of the 80s kung fu theater, with the red screens when they pulled it back and they did the quick fight and then they went past and they're like, hold on, we gotta go back to that. And then they rewound it all the way back to the screens. Me and Rakai was like, yo, they doing it. Like the action sequences were crisp, they were fast, they showed really good sense of being quick but being clear, and they had a good sense of originality. I loved them. I think it's probably one of the biggest selling points of this series was the fight sequences.
Yo, so what y'all think about episode 6 then, when she goes to the palace and you got I don't know if there's zombies and she's taking out the whole army. So I'm talking to you, Dale. Like, what did you think about that scene where, it's brutal, it's violent, it's quick, it's all those things. So what'd you think about that episode?
Yeah, I definitely was excited. I feel like we earned every single level of that castle. I felt like when we got to the level with the spikes and the open space and like how's she gonna make her way across and then her sword gets stuck. I don't know if we talked about it, but when her anklets and her wrist weights became the hole for her spear at the brothel at the end,
Yes.
like it just felt like such an amazing extension of her character and her growth, and like all of like Mizu is a character of hidden realities that has to navigate a very kind of narrow understanding of the world. Like you're either a man or a woman, and if you're a woman, you got to be like this. And we saw it on the bridge, right, where they wouldn't let the woman through with their son to sell the pots or the baskets. But Mizu's able to navigate. Or when Ringo comes in, he's like, "Oh, I've got the wall pass for both of us. We got to get through." So for her to enter the castle, and then to see all those skeletons of the babies of Fowler, right? We learn about that later. So just that adventure, it felt very much like the video game that I wanted to play. Like I want to go and be in this castle and climb up to level 9 and see how tired she is, see how Taigen is like beat up, just bruised, and still like on her squad. She's carrying him hanging off the side of the castle, and and then the Edo period video monitor of Heiji looking through the screens watching the progress and just the way they built that suspense sequence of the monsters in the castle. Are we gonna survive? I thought that was dope. And then yeah, just I mean like Centel said, like from watching her first battle in the or first set of fights in the first episode at the Shindo Dojo to then getting her in this castle and I was just asking myself, like, she can't solve it. She can't rescue everybody. We're only in episode 6. Like, what are we gonna do for the next 2 episodes?
That's
So I just
what I said. I was like, where do we
right?
go from here?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all of it. I was here for all of it. So I felt like, and then just watching her strength and just the training that the way that they layered in her training over time and how she had to secretly learn, which also feels a little bit like, what's the Writing on the Back of Whales movie,
Well,
Whale
Rider.
Rider. Yeah. And so like, as a girl who looks to watch warriors who are also girls and women, there's a particular kind of trope sometimes you have to take in order to achieve a master level of warrior status. So to watch her not only climb through that castle, but to understand her life of those levels, yeah, I'm so here for it. It was so dope.
Good.
Go ahead.
I wanted to say I agree with everything Dale said, +1 on all of that. I feel like it was the game of death going into the castle, going up. And if you watch the whole entire series and watch her fighting style, it evolves. Like she's constantly evolving as a fighter. Like every time she takes a loss or gets beat up on, her fighting style somewhat changes throughout the whole entire thing. It reminded me of Samurai Champloo, but she evolved as a fighter. She's like a combination of Mugen and Jin, and I really like that about this character. I thought I tell everybody like that character won for me because she constantly evolved the whole entire time. Like when she was in the brothel, how she attacked it. Old version of Mizu would just fought those guys straight up, but she realized she had to use the house in her favor. How she used it was brilliant. Because at first she was like, "I'm not running from nobody. I'm not running anyway." And she realized, I'm gonna get killed out here if I don't run from everybody. And the end goal was the most important mission, right? I got to get to this white guy. I think potentially my father, and kill him.
Go ahead, Santel.
I just got one quick thing. Go ahead, Rakai. Go ahead. I already had my spec to say. Go ahead.
Okay.
All right. So, yes, everything. I think one of the things that was most important about Mizu, and Chuck is exactly right about her growth and her evolution in fighting, but also her beginning to evolve as a character, and then her eventual regression. Remember the whole thing when she first set out, when we first see her, she's revenge driven, and she runs into Ringo, and he brings her some luck, and Ringo's like, "Listen, I'm devoted to you. I'm your apprentice," or whatever. And she's like, if a wind, what I'm saying, if a leaf can fall in the ocean and cause a hurricane, or a million miles away, she said, "You are, like the mother of all hurricanes." She's like, and she's like, "You're gonna knock me off my mission." But he proved himself invaluable time after time, even saving her. And the thing is, because of Ringo, because of that interaction, and even like you would say, because of how she felt when she got to Madame Kaji, because Daylight brought up a point, like when she was passing through that gate, she saw that woman and that child there. And for most of us, and not everyone's a sociopath, but for most of us, that would have pulled on her heartstrings. Like, you know what, let me see if I can, what I'm saying? It's a, an older lady and a little kid. Let me see if I can help him out or do something or drop some coins in that cup. She looked at him like, what I'm saying? That ain't part of my mission. That ain't got nothing to do with me. I don't care if they, when she came back out, they looked like they had frozen over, maybe died or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So, and she kept it moving because she was on a mission, period. But her interaction with Ringo, her when she came across Kimmy, when she came across Tegan, it all led to basically what was her downfall, where she rethought this whole softening up shit. She's like, because when she went into that house to and me and Centel, we were watching it. when she went in there to get Madame Kaji's girl, and he was like, and she, you know, Madame Kaji said, you know, make it look like an accident or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, and she went in there and it didn't go down the way that it was supposed to go down. And like at first we thought, oh, she gonna bring her with her, you know what I'm saying? She's gonna mess up, she's gonna bring her with her. And at the last second, she took her out. It was like, oh shit, I
Yeah, we're
didn't see
ready
that.
for that.
Yeah. But the thing is, when she escaped that house, what did she do wrong? She let that little boy live. That
Yeah,
little
she
boy
let
that
the
saw
boy
her,
live.
she let him
Yeah.
live. And then that changed everything. Because now she got injured in that house and stuff like that. Like that changed everything. And she's like, see, all this shit with Ringo and all these distractions knocking me off my mission. I should have killed everybody. You know what I'm saying? But I done got soft and now I done got messed up. You know, and it changed her. And really towards the end of it, her skills leveled up, but her as a character, she regressed to where she fired Ringo and the whole shit, and just that kind of pissed me off with her character. Like even to the fact where your whole mission was to take out Fowler, and because we have other places to go, hey.
But she
Anyway.
came back. She still remained a mission to kill Fowler. Go ahead, Cynthia. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say one more thing that I thought was pretty dope to kind of get ahead of what could have been negativity within the show is sometimes having a female character that does physical deeds, it brings the haters to be like, it's the weight difference, this, that, and the third. And weight difference is important. There's a reason why there's weight classes in boxing and wrestling and stuff. There's a reason for that because it does play a part. But I do think that they were very genius and how they set the tone with her early in the beginning. She's taking training from a blacksmith. You know, the type of effort and the type of physical strength and endurance it takes to wield and make swords. It was a beautiful, beautiful way of writing that in. It builds strength. It has you better understanding of your weapon. It shows that you're made out of sterner stuff. But then the thing that was like, it's dope enough that they started it off with that she started with that kind of physical labor. But when she walked into that dojo and saw the numbers, we had already seen her work a little bit, and she saw those numbers, and then she took the weights off. She took the weights off. She was like, yo, I'm not even in my final form just yet. Dog. I was like, there can be no more haters.
Rock Lee, yeah.
Yeah, there could be no more. Rock Lee, Goku. It set the tone. So any of that chit chat that you go and hear on social media, she couldn't really do this because that is third. Nah, it's been answered. We saw that right then and there. We saw a little bit of it with Tarantino was talking about The Bride and Kill Bill. You know, that moment when she was like, let me just wiggle my big toe. If I could just wiggle that, and it showed her intestinal fortitude so that it justifies all the other actions that happen later on. You can't question it. I was so happy that they got that in the first episode. So everything else is unquestioned.
No, like when they were talking about the sword, like, what's the difference between what makes a good sword and what makes a great sword? And it's inches. It's inches that makes the difference between it. So with her mastering like how to make it, those small incremental inches, it gives her character another layer of her ferocity that she's able to do that. In addition to what you were talking about, Centel, with the weights, wielding the sword and knowing like how to use it to make it the most effective killing weapon. That's what I thought.
Well, I think it's beautiful in what you just said, Randy, because it also too, it came full circle where that first sword that she made, where she considered herself a master, and that's the broken sword where it broke, but then that came back where the dude wielding it, you know what I'm saying, came for her or whatever. And I think one of the things that Chuck said about the evolution of her fighting style, what was beautiful in this that doesn't really get talked about is that the blind sword maker said, in order for me to make a sword for you, you have to show me your style. Like I have to experience, you know what I'm saying, how you fight or whatever. So her sitting and watching and working all them years, she evolved and learned every style. Everybody who came through there and got a sword, she learned their style. And so, you know, we probably have not even scratched the surface of the skills that she has yet.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't understand during the Edo period, the samurai, when a samurai got a lesson from somebody. So I'm one samurai and say Rakai's a samurai. I said, I want a lesson from you. One of us has to die. and whoever dies is the winner. Whoever lives is the winner of the lesson. That means I learned how you fight, so I killed you, and that's how it works. So Musashi was like, he was handing out life lessons everywhere, literally handing out life lessons.
Yeah, that was their YouTube back then.
That's
yeah.
that
And
sounds like some Sith kind of shit.
but that's the whole
What a-
thing is like, like Musashi went to a shogunate one time, and the shogunate was supposed to fight him, but the shogun, the heir of the shogun was the son. So he tied his son to a tree, and Musashi climbed in over the trees, saw the son tied to the tree, hopped down, ran straight to him, and the shoguns, all his samurai were there, ran past all of them and killed the son instantly. One swipe. Then he killed everybody else.
Yeah.
But he knew he had to kill that son.
Kill the heir.
Yeah, the heir. And that's it. And for her, she was very similar. So that's how Mizu played in this. They did a really good job representing samurai.
And I thought in episode, I mean, Randy just asked us about episode 6 and we get the castle, but in episode 7, when there's the healing and we go back to Sword Father, Mizu doesn't use the forge of Sword Father. She builds 2 pits. So I also, there's, the metaphors of the perfection and the impurities and like all the way that goes around race. I think also in the impurities, all of the ways that also touches on gender and like the inference that, or the statements that women are not supposed to be doing this, and she is impure because she exists outside of these confines. I just thought it was so powerful. So like at first I was like, why is she building her own pit again? Like she grew up with this forge, this is her forge. But I realized like even the fire in which she had to burn the steel, it's like all of it had to be her in order for her to fully emerge, which is why I would lovingly disagree with you, Rakai, about I actually don't think that she dropped off on the journey. I think she evolved to a new place to understand I need to know this information about whether or not I'm really was this woman who betrayed me, who made me think she was dead. She built a pledge. Mizu built a pledge on a lie. That woman was not her hooker, her prostitute mother, because Fowler's trying to say you could be something else. So I saw episode 7 also as a way for me to understand Mizu has to go back to the beginning before she even hears these potential truths from Fowler in order to understand that lady was not my mom. And we kept seeing them go back to the shot of her with the shrine and saying, Mom, I will avenge you. Like, this is who we are. It's like, that's all a lie. So who is Mizu now? So, and I also want to see her kick ass in London. So I'm curious about season 2 and just what is her racial identity, gender identity, foreigner, other identity when she shows up in London, right? So yeah,
I agree with you. I agree with you in a sense. Like when she built that forge, the sword master told her that everything goes into building a sword. Your feelings, you know what I'm saying? So it's more than just the types of steel and all that type of stuff. Like your feelings, the way that you're feeling, the sword, the receiver of the sword, how they are. So, when that sword broke, she had impurities in her, and we're not talking about race. She had impurities in her because she was driven by that hatred and that anger that she had in her. And a part of that was going to that sword. She had this deep need to prove herself. And then dude who received the sword, he was all types of fugazi, and the sword master knew that off top. But when she went back to it again, I do see, her purification and what you're saying about that evolving. But what I was talking about her regressing was how she dealt with a lot. She only got up to that point because of her squad, and to forget that now she's on a boat with Fowler was the most dangerous dude in all of Japan. He killed the shogun. And now you on a boat selling to his home turf by yourself. You know what I'm saying? If nothing else, you take Ringo, with you, something. There's a lot of things. She's out of her depth right now, which does make for an interesting series. And I can't wait to see how that goes. But, it's also, she's been kind of manipulated all of her life she's being manipulated by Fowler because he's still alive to live another day. You don't let no that's not just a pit viper. That is the most dangerous of snakes.
And
You cut that head off and
oh, sorry, go ahead, Rikai.
no, I'm done because so that's what kind of pissed me off about Mizu. But I mean, I do see that she had to restart her entire line of thinking. But that, you know, it's just one of those things. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's just.
And to both of you all's kind of pointed in, when the mother and I guess potential husband, it's still ambiguous of who turned her in. We still don't know. So it's still like a lie out there that she's having these identity problems because we don't know, was it the husband do, the boyfriend do, or was it the woman who she thought was her mother? That's still out there in the open. So, and that brings me to my point. I'm going to jump to you, Chuck, real quick. So I felt like in this series that everybody was kind of out for their own self-interest. It was one of those things where we didn't necessarily have, well, Fowler was all kinds of bad, but we hear a little bit of his backstory. We see some of it. I felt like everybody was out to do for their own self-interest. There were some characters you liked. There were some characters you didn't, but nobody was really good. And their ability to weave all of this together. So I'm asking you, Chuck, what did you think about the writing for the overall series?
I thought the writing was good. I thought the writing was well paced. It was a short, contained story. I thought we got a feel for all the characters. All the characters had their own identity. They didn't fall on East Asian tropes and not Japanese tropes. That people actually resonated with them. Mizu being how she contained her identity was well done. I never felt like she was a woman trying to be a man. I felt like she was a woman just trying to protect herself. And there's a difference there between those two things. And I thought Kimmy, I do like Kimmy's growth. I just feel like they used her. I've seen her character before, and particularly with East Asian women and a lot of Korean dramas and whatnot. That character pops up. He was villainous, but it was all about money and power. Like I want to get into Japan and change all of this. He was
his daughter,
quite,
I mean, his sister. Like that's
yeah. He was malicious, but his whole intent was, I am an imperialist, and I want to be more than just an imperialist. I want to be a conquistador. Basically, I want to conquer all of this. I want to get rid of this culture. Because I think his self-hate, how much he knew the culture hated him. Like, you're not even supposed to be there, man. They found you, they would kill you.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna turn to you. Let's start wrapping up some things. So Centel, man, we got 8 episodes. They were about 45 minutes apiece. Was this number sufficient to tell the story that we got in season 1?
Yeah, I mean, normally I'm always on board to be like, man, you know, maybe we could have gotten 12 instead of 8. Maybe you could have gotten 10. You know, I thought 8 was tight. It was really, honestly, you maybe even could have made it 7, and I probably wouldn't have even complained. You know, it's not a lot of fat. Every single frame is important. Every scene is important. I appreciate the fact that it took its time with the characters' growth and development. 7 is good. If they now I'm at the point now where if we are privileged enough to have a second season, I hope they don't make it like a 12 episode thing, because I'd rather keep it concise, tight, good storytelling. You don't have to give me a lot of fluff in order for me to be on board. I'm on board.
And speaking of season 2, Rikai, you want a season 2? And if so, why?
I wouldn't mind seeing a season 2. The way that this ended off, Mizu on a boat by herself with Fowler on her way to London. I mean, she's just now getting out in the big city and venturing out to, on this revenge quest. Now she's on there's a whole different thing. You're on a boat. Not only that, this is a 17th century. This is 16 something. She's on a boat for how many months? How long to get back to England?
Yeah. Wow.
You're going across the world. Yeah.
She's on that
literally
for a long time.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it might even be interesting that they don't even make it to England.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of things could happen in the many months, many months that it would take to get to their destination, you know, or a year or whatever. So to see a new season of where that takes us, because it's kind of and Chuck brought this up earlier, you know, and it made me think of the Warrior um series on that's on
Max.
Max or whatever, you know, where you see the Chinese who are displaced in San Francisco and what became Chinatown and the early some of that. And you're talking about, so we're talking the 1600s, 1700. This is far, you know, a couple hundred so years before that, 120 years before that or whatever. So to see what it would be like for her in London, I mean, you know, and you're talking about Fowler brought guns and cannons and stuff with him. Like she's out here rolling with a sword and her you know, her armor. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
as a
We
matter
saw
of
the
fact, she don't
power of
even got her.
technology.
Yeah, like yeah, it's just.
And we saw how them guns. Well, we know what happened.
The power of technology.
Guns, you know, the
Well,
sword.
guns and the well-placed internal spy to unlock the heavy door that the guns cannot fight. If that door was not open, that would not have ended that way, right?
Yeah.
So for Heiji to open that gate is why the guns could do the last of the thing.
That's true.
Man.
Daylight. So if we get in season 2, give me some predictions.
Season 2, I'm curious to see, kind of to Chuck's point, like what is going to happen with Akemi and what kind of princess does she evolve to be? And I'm curious as Taigen heals, if the Akemi Taigen relationship easily like resolves, because now she's married to Shogun son number 2, who she's also been able to have that magical, mystical, oh, you're a stutterer, I got you. Like, let's, you know, so just the way that Madame Kaiji, just seeing her, that world reassemble, seeing the other thing I thought that was really interesting is like where that Fowler says to Mizu, because she started this great fire, which is actually based on an actual real fire that happened in Tokyo in 1657. He says to her, he's like, your white side is showing. That's why you've been on the whole thing.
You'll kill everybody.
You're gonna kill everybody. Like, where do you
that
think
white blood in you?
He's like, if you were being
that European blood in you. We're the best at killing people. He made that point earlier in the season. Was like, yeah, we're great at killing people. Nobody beats Europeans at, you know, destruction.
Yeah,
for sure. So I think the last thing I just am aware of is just like, I hope they don't do gendered stuff like we got in the first Wonder Woman, where like, here's this powerful woman, she arrives in London and let's put her in some pretty clothes and like try to contain her femininity. So I just think there's a lot of options if they actually make it to London. And I think that the Akemi Taigen, I'm gonna ship for Taigen and Mizu. Like that's gonna naturally break itself up, and then there's gonna be this other, and that Ringo will continue on his own journey of not being an invalid, but being a superhero. I mean, that dude is like a superhero. And I'm just curious, what's the hat? Is the hat because he can't cover his own head? Or is that just his costume? Like, I just have questions about Ringo and Lovingly.
All right, so let's rewrite this thing. We're gonna start with you, Chuck. How are you gonna rewrite it?
I'm gonna keep it at a full meal.
Full meal? All right. Ricard, what about you? How are you gonna rewrite it?
You know, the thing is, I really wanted more than anything for this to be a full binge out. I really did. And I really like it that much, but there's just something gnawing at me that won't let it get there. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stay at a full meal. While I love this and will promote this property to whoever I see, there's just a few things in it that I'm at a full meal.
All right, cool. I'm going to jump in here real quickly. I gave it a full meal at first, but the conversations about the acting quality and how the actors didn't phone it in, and some of the character building, it was enough to help convince me to raise my rating. So I'm actually going to raise it up to a full binge out.
Nice.
Dayla, how you gonna re-rate it?
squirming in my seat. I'm here for it. I'm here for the lady power, the mixed raceness, the mysterious samurai who can take my ankle weights and make it into a spear. I could give it a double binge. Now I want to go back and watch it all over again, so I can just see all the little knickknacks as they appear. So yes,
Nice.
full on. Come on, binge it. So yeah.
All right. So bring us on home, brother. How you gonna re-rate it?
I gave it a binge out in the beginning, but I was on the cusp of a full meal because kind of like what Kai was saying, I was like, there's something that's just not making it a 10 out of 10. And I was excited about coming into this conversation because I was like, well, maybe I can get a better understanding of what that is. And I haven't found it. So I'm leaning on how do I feel? And how I felt when the series was over. And I felt like it's a 10 out of 10 as far as the excitement. It's not perfect. It's definitely going to have some of its issues. But after watching the series and it sticks on my mind and me getting excited about some of the scenes that I've seen and some of the characters and some of the growth and the development of some of my favorite people and the cool bad guys that they had. Like we didn't even talk about like her Mizu's husband and how he double crossed her and all that. Like there's a lot of little things like that. So when I get done thinking about it at the end of the day, I'm like, yo, I really, really enjoyed that. I think our conversation reinforced it the other direction. To me, it's an absolute binge out.
All right. So what we got here? 5. We got a 4.6. So that's enough to round it out. Round it up. And we're going to give Blue Eye Samurai a full binge out. All right. Dana's happy about that. I like it. Love the energy.
Yeah.
Hey, Randy, I just want to throw in one thing.
Go ahead.
You said that there was no character in the show that was really, everybody seemed to be out and had their own agenda. I disagree. Ringo was not like that.
You're
Ringo,
right.
he went to that little village and competed at one of the little quest thing, where everybody for some reason got naked and ran out into the water. Like, what's that about? Okay.
That's a real thing.
Is it a real thing?
That's a real thing.
I mean, I assumed it was. I just didn't know. It's like, okay, they freaks out here. Like,
Nick out here.
But the dude with no hands won the little thing, caught it in his teeth, and amongst all them people in the water. And his wish when he got started was all he wanted to do was to be great. And then even when it came to saving Mizu, he dropped that little thing. Like you were supposed to hold on to that. He dropped it. It was no longer important. She was what was important. And he didn't realize that he already was great. He just didn't have the opportunities to show it. And he kept showing up and he kept showing up. And even when Tigan challenged him, you need to go do this with me to show that you're great. Now you got it confused. He already is. Yep. So that's
just right. That was the one character. Yep, you're right. With the exception
and he discovered peaches and pumpkins.
Peaches and pumpkins.
Peaches and pumpkins. For sure.
He was like Chris Tucker and he was like Chris Tucker in Rush Hour 2. He said, "Oh my." He's like Deshaun Watson.
Like, some parts are a little soft and some parts you need to be gentle with.
Oh man.
Good stuff. Chuck, got anything to say before we head out, sir?
No, we're on break. This is the last show for right now.
We're going to do one more.
Are we going to do one more?
We'll do one more.
I thought we were done.
Bodies. It's on the agenda. But we can talk.
Okay. I thought we were done. Yeah. I thought the network was shutting down after this week.
Okay. All right. You're in here first then. Okay. That's cool. That's cool. So give us some.
You want to do another show? We could do another show. I was trying to say we may do a best of show, but we have to plan that first to get everybody on board. That was going to be a surprise show. Now you ruined it, Randy.
I didn't ruin it. You the one just said it. I ruined it. You just said it.
I'm going to blame you anyway. Everybody knows me, knows how I'm going to blame you anyway.
You said it and blame me. We're going to have a best of, but it's your fault for
mentioning. Your fault. You made me say it.
How dare you make him say it?
Like, what is that? Gin and juice? He's like, I don't like being around JB. He drink too much. Make me drink too much.
No, but I'm excited. Okay.
Cool. Kai, got anything to say before we head out, sir?
No, whether we taking a break or whether we doing another show next week, this was great. I think we've had a very good year. And I'm just looking forward to seeing how we grow and expand this show and this network in 2024. So I'm here for it.
Good stuff. Daylight, you got anything to say before we head out, man?
Just to say that sometimes the holidays feel dark and lonely, and just to encourage folks to find that favorite thing to binge so that you can be Mizu and drop those anklets and those wristbands and make a spear out of a sword. Like, it is time. Come on.
Yeah,
So find the light. Find the light.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
so dope.
I was like,
was
I'm
dope.
really meditating on, like, that is such a powerful metaphor for a warrior.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm here for it.
Good stuff. Centel, you got anything to say before we head out, sir?
Just wanted to say thank you to everybody who makes BingeWorthy happen. It takes effort. It takes tremendous effort to be consistent and to show up. And you all show up. And I just want to give you all a hat tip to making this happen. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds. So thank you all for allowing me to be a part of this. I'm just tickled. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're family, son. You got all sentimental to be around family. You know you welcome here at the BingeWorthy podcast.
Yeah, it's like when you come up for Thanksgiving. Look, you family now. I ain't fixing your damn plate.
You know where it's at.
Your plate.
I ain't gonna be nice to you. What are you talking about?
Fix your own plate.
Mm-hmm.
Shouts out to our technical director, Rodney. Rodney provides all the changes and all of that behind it and puts up all the graphics. Shouts out to Digital Click. They're amazing. Marketing and promotion. If for your company, if you're considering any marketing and promotion, reach out to Digital Click. Guys, as I like to say every week, the Geekage Network, we're BIPOC. We are the premier BIPOC network out there, and we have amazing people. We have amazing people in front of the camera, behind the camera. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitch. Like us, share us, support us out there. Talk to your friends about them. Have them come in. One of the things we didn't even mention today is we go live. We have people in the chat. You can join in the chat, and we will respond to you. So please go out there and support us. I don't know if we're going to be back next week, but if we're not, if we are, it's all good. So until then, keep supporting us, and we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.